Welcome to my audio Mindshift booster series called MindSet to Soar. I'm Sarah, the founder of Soar with Sarah Yoga, and I am on a mission to initiate shifts of growth and positive mindset of souls who crave a healthier, more confident life, and those that desire a deeper understanding of their patterns. This episode is called Let's Get Uncomfortable. How often do you actively seek discomfort by stretching beyond your believed limitations? When was the last time you tried a new sport or hobby or even made a new friend? When was the last time you were vulnerable enough to suck at something new or have a chance for rejection? Taking a risk to say or do something, even though that might mean that you won't be liked or that someone may be mad at you. This is vulnerability, and here is my view on it. Our ability to be vulnerable plays a large part in our personal growth. We achieve growth by heading to new spaces mentally and physically, even when the outcome is no guarantee. Now, this can often feel uncomfortable and terrifying. Dr. Brené Brown, a researcher and author on the subject, talks about vulnerability and the need to feel courageous in order to push through our fears to get to those new spaces. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, the reward is that we are capable of seeking true authenticity, and as a result, deep connection to ourselves and to others. Vulnerability lets us truly feel love and joy to its fullest potential. So being vulnerable is imperative to living a full, complete life. Before we can take any steps towards being vulnerable, we need to take a quick look at our own self-worth. Self-worth is an internal belief and ongoing dialogue that you belong where you are and that you are perfectly imperfect. There's nothing that needs to change in order for you to be accepted. It is acknowledging that your flaws are as acceptable as your strengths, and you do not need to feel shame because of your shortcomings. Those shortcomings are what make you unique. Self-worth is also knowing that you are safe and can provide yourself with what you need to be happy, that you don't rely on others. You know that you have got your own back and that you truly are worthy of good things. Now, this can be a long journey of building up your self-worth to get to this point, but it is the foundation of vulnerability. So how do we do this? How do we increase our self-worth so we can feel safe enough to be vulnerable and take risks? Well, we spend time loving ourselves, being with ourselves and knowing ourselves, honoring our needs, and exercising boundaries. Once we have grown in that department, and now this can be a big department for some of us, we can then move on to taking baby steps towards growth in being vulnerable and taking risks. The path to vulnerability can be a very slow one and starts with very small steps in that direction. You first need to become aware of what is habitual and comfortable. And if those patterns are preventing you from growth or stepping forward, then purposely choosing what makes you feel uncomfortable, but also makes you feel alive. We grow in vulnerability and in self-worth when we do things, even when we are scared. And absolutely, it takes practice to choose to make our desires louder than our fears and our shame. But it is not impossible. You will not embrace vulnerability overnight. And like everything, it's a journey. But taking the first steps towards focusing your growth and energies there will eventually create shifts. So how do we go about finding this space of discomfort, vulnerability, and growth? The answer is you lean into the feelings of resistance. So when your mind is telling you that it is far more comfortable to stay in bed and that you deserve the extra hour of sleep, you dig deep to find the courage to override that thought, recognize it for what it is, an excuse, and choose what is best for you anyways. You prove to yourself that you have got your own back. Or another example may be when you are avoiding having a difficult conversation with your partner or friend. You come up with a plan and approach the topic that you both have been avoiding. You take the first steps. Our resistance and fear of being vulnerable really stems from our inner worries of being rejected. So ask yourself, where is that fear rooted in? What is it that you really are afraid of by being exposed? When you are terrified to speak, choose, push, or jump, that is precisely the moment when you leap. Empathy is another key factor in our ability to be vulnerable. Practicing non-judgment and compassion for others and ourselves allows us to embrace and learn from our mistakes instead of shutting down when we see them. In order to be vulnerable with others and even honest with ourselves, we need to get over the thinking that mistakes are flaws and they are our defining features. Our society is so conditioned that there are two states, two choices, good or bad, and we categorize ourselves and those around us by those terms. There are many other colors in the rainbow, many ways to live a life. So how about next time you are thinking about the choices someone else is making, instead ask, why would they have made that choice? Or we could even offer, how could I understand this choice that they have made a bit deeper? For example, you may get upset and think the worst of someone when they cancel plans on you last minute or disappoint you by not showing up to help with a task. You are depending on this person and expecting them to be there, and your feelings are valid. You may be thinking even that you are no longer important to this person, that you no longer can trust them, and that they just don't have their priorities straight. You would always have been there for them had they asked. But there's a different perspective here to mull over. How about this? Most of people's choices have nothing to do with us. People are making choices for what is best for their lives, their emotions, and their beliefs. When we judge someone's actions through the vision and perspective of our own lives, we usually get it wrong. We are all walking around this planet, living very different lives. What is important to you may not be accessible for someone else. They may be going through a depression and just can't get themselves motivated, or they were working on their own healing and they're just not capable of offering themselves to others right now. The question I would ask is, why is it so important to you about what they do? When we view the world in black and white, right and wrong, and judge others, this is a direct reflection and a peek hole into how we think of ourselves, our own self-worth. By creating a line of good and bad, we begin to categorize our own behaviors that way as well. And as a result, we feel shame for not always making the correct choice. What if there is no good and bad? What if we are on this journey making decisions with the tools that we have at our disposal in the moments that we see fit? They're all good choices. Because when we know better, we do better. Approaching situations with more understanding and the understanding that all of the experiences we are feeling and all the problems we are solving are simply part of our bigger journey called life. Shaming ourselves or others will not help us grow any faster towards being vulnerable. It will not help us feel any safer or happier. So to choose compassion over control, we can prevent creating rules and boxes and spotting the wrongs within ourselves. We can hopefully spot more beautiful and more humanness so we can connect with it. And being vulnerable with it will feel more safe and natural. Being vulnerable is one of the most complicated and rewarding actions and really has the power to shift our lives in monumental ways. So let's get uncomfortable together. And then let's find the comfort within the discomfort. If you have enjoyed listening to this Mind Shift Booster series called MindSet to Soar, by Soar with Sarah Yoga, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel or head to my website to check out in-person and virtual offerings. I hope you have an awesome day with whatever awesomeness you end up doing. Soar high.